Welcome to the July 11th, 2023 meeting of the PACE Review Committee. We'll start out by doing a quick roll call. Jim Bartlett.
Steve over here.
Lisa Ferguson. Kara Fox.
And before we get into the business of the day, wanted to cover something just so that everybody's aware of it going in. At the last PACE meeting, we anticipated that at this meeting we would have more applications than we have money to disperse, and that in fact is the case. At that meeting, we made a motion as to how to make a determination if there are more applicants that qualify than we have money, and those decisions will be made based on the scores that the applicants get as they present their various projects. Each project does get scored as you're speaking to us, and we have different score sheets for the various different types of applications, be it dilapidated or otherwise. When I say we have more applicants than we have money, just so that you all are aware, we have roughly $90,000 in applications more than we have money. So there will be a number of applications that just simply can't be funded for lack of cash. With that, we'll move on to an amendment that we've got from an old application. That amendment is on the Custer Cosby House on 4th Street. I believe Link Ludington is here to discuss that amendment.
All right, I take it you've all seen the...
Well, we've got the letter, but go ahead and tell us about it.
Okay, well, I mean, I don't know how far back you want me to go, but when we had the Custer House moved to the current location, it appeared to be the only viable location for it to go. And in later years, we purchased the remainder of that quarter block, and with mainly just to be able to control what happened next door to the property. And originally, I thought it might be a site for redevelopment or subdivided in a way similar to how Judy Keeler redivided her property. But after thinking about it more and more, I started thinking, well, you know, with the amount of available lots there, why wouldn't relocating the Custer House again to one of those lots be a better alternative as opposed to just building a new structure and selling that? So that's where we are.
Okay,
and at the time, as I think I explained in the amendment, the memo that accompanied the amendment, had we known more about the potential feasibility of this option at the time the PACE grant was initially submitted, we would just included that, but it would only have increased the amount of private investment that the PACE grant would be matching. So before even submitting the PACE grant amendment initially, I contacted Mayor Courtney and explained to him what we were considering and wanted to just make sure that, number one, that he was on board with it and confirm that the PACE grant would go with the structure even if it was relocated to a different site. He told me that as far as he was concerned, he thought it was a great idea and he would support it any way he could. And with that, it appeared that, the ability to confirm that the grant was for the rehabilitation of the structure and was not contingent upon it staying on that location on the alley, in the backyard next to the ambulance parking. And in the meantime, we have been further developing those plans, contacted house movers and are in the process of putting together detailed plans for construction of a new foundation. So that's where things stand at this point. But the project, the change in the project has already been reviewed and approved by the Historic District Board of Review, and the COA has been issued to reauthorize the previous COA amendment. So the PACE grant review committee was the next approval that needed to be obtained. And then the final approval would be then the Board of Public Works and Safety, depending upon your action tonight. So that's where
And
we are.
if I understand it correctly, this application for an amendment does not reflect any change in the dollars provided by the PACE grant. It's simply a application for approval of relocating the house from point A to point B. And from the PACE committee's perspective, the dollars remain exactly the same as they were
Yeah,
before.
because, I mean, we realize the PACE, there's a ceiling on that, and the increased cost of the overall project as a result of relocation will not increase the amount we get for the PACE grant.
Okay.
But the other significant thing, and the reason we had to go back to the Historic District Board to get approval for the changes to the COA that had previously been issued, is that because of the extreme change in grade between the front of the proposed lot and the back of that lot compared with the existing lot, which is more of a gradual slope, that's going to necessitate construction of the deck and staircase to give access to that back kitchen door, which otherwise would be, I mean, yeah, I mean, previously it was going to be like a 3 or 4 step high stoop. I mean, there is at the existing location, but the difference in grade at the new location is what requires the addition of that deck and staircase, and the fact that because of having to essentially, or at least being given the option of putting it on an actual basement, full basement foundation instead of just a crawl space, that also gives the opportunity to actually create a garage door access, so that if it works out, then parking for a car could be under the house through that garage door that should be shown on the revised plan submitted.
So Link, what year is this house? Like, I didn't read through.
It was originally constructed 1844.
18. And how long ago did you check with the Pearl Park Committee?
Well, 1999, but
Okay, I'm interested because that's what we're doing over at Pearl Park right now, but it's a whole new group of people, so I'm just trying to learn.
oh yeah, but no, I mean, had I been able to convince the Pearl Park people at that time to take the Cosby house instead of that little shotgun, we wouldn't even be here.
Any questions?
No.
Questions? So I would entertain a motion.
Before you do that, just to be clear, the current legal address of the house is 601 Mulberry, and is recommending to move it to 611 Mulberry, so the motion would need to include those addresses instead of the 4th Street.
Right.
Excuse
So-
me, just for clarification, maybe I should add that regardless of the existing definition of the parcels today, that quarter block was originally platted as 8 lots in the Syrian Leonard subdivision. There are 6 lots facing Mulberry Street, each 25 feet wide, and then 2 smaller lots, one of which the Custer House now occupies, facing 4th Street. So, I mean, this is an example of how the original plat does not match up with the way parcels have been divided up in modern times. But that quarter block, the property we own is 8 originally platted lots.
Like I just mentioned it, so the grant information
Yeah,
matches.
I understand.
Well, if there's no other questions, then I'll make the motion that we approve the change, the amendment request, including in the amendment request, the change of physical address from 4th Street to 611 Mulberry Street.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. And with that, we'll start reviewing applications. Our first application is 209 West Main Street.
Sorry, this is my first time, so I'm not, do I just talk about my application? Is that kind of the idea?
Yes, tell us who you are.
Okay, so I'm Keith Collins, and I'm the owner of Kentuckiana Mortgage Group, which resides in 209 West Main Street. And basically, our application is mainly to do brickwork to fix the structural integrity of the property and do some work on the front facade where some of the brick is kind of pulling away from the other two buildings.
So you'll be tuck pointing and doing some brick replacement as well?
Yeah, like there's a door to the outside there that we can't even really get like a regular door in, so they'll have to put like a steel beam above that. And then, so yeah, basically the entire side of the building that's in the alley there is pretty awful. You can see quite a bit of pulling away and tearing that needs to be fixed. And then the front, it's kind of hard to tell in the pictures, but you know, both sides of the building, there's some cracks that have kind of formed between the buildings on the side. And so eventually the idea will be, like, once we get that done, that we'll be able to repaint the front as well. With being such a visible building on Main Street, I think would be good. So that's what we're working towards.
What's your goal for it in the end? Are you
What's
gonna-
that?
Will you live in it, rent it, what is it?
So my office is there, and then we have two tenants that will be, well, there's two apartments above. So there's a third floor that is already rented, and then there's somebody living in the second floor that's actively fixing that up. So he's renting it, but not at no cost as he's fixing it up.
And it's currently your office as well?
Yes. Yeah, it used to be the Main Street Nail Salon, so we've made quite a few improvements to
Oh,
make it.
okay.
So your project is a $10,000 project, you believe, and you're requesting $5,000.
Yes, sir.
Now, that property, the areas that you're going to be working on, that faces both Main Street and the alley?
Yes.
And at the end of the day, the existing structure will essentially have the same character as the current structure?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the only thing we would do would be paint, no other changes, but that's not part of this request.
Any other questions?
No.
Any other questions on this side? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I did neglect to mention earlier that our recommendation goes to the Board of Public Works. They actually make the final decision on the grant applications. So based on our scores, then we'll make the recommendations of which ones to be funded, and those will go to the Board of Public Works for final approval. Okay, our next applicant is 113 West Third Street.
Hi, Susan Stahl, Girls Inc. And our application is pretty simple. We renovated our facilities at 109 and 113 West Third Street in 2014, did all of our exterior work. And so it's time to repaint, tuck point, do some flashing repair, and then we'd also like to put new gutters where regular gutters are with gutter guards so that we don't have to continue somebody clean out our gutters.
Now, does a replacement of gutters need to be approved by the Board of Historic Review?
Are you replacing gutters? You're just adding guards, right?
Yeah, sorry.
Just says gutter guards.
Gutter guards,
Just gutter guards?
yes,
To the
sorry.
existing gutters.
Okay.
That's the answer to that question in general, yes.
Okay. Okay. And that is the building that your all's business is in?
Yes, so actually, we go from one end of the block to the other, but we have a private residence in between, and they're different addresses. So it's 109 West Third is the building that's on the city parking lot, and then it's 113, 115 are the addresses of the other building that's on the other side of the block. We only use 109 West Third Street, but those are the actual addresses.
Any other questions?
No.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, 944 West Second Street.
Hello, my name is Ron Hopper, and I'm the owner of 944 West Second Street. I purchased the property in 2009, and the house was painted the color it is now with the trim. So I need to, there's some obvious wear on the east and west sides at the top of the house, and there's some brick or tuck pointing that needs to be done on the chimney. And so the whole house needs to be painted, including the trim. And they're also going to fix or reline the box gutter in the front of the house. The lining has gone past its time. And they're going to paint the house the same color and the same trim colors as it is currently.
Okay. And that's your residence?
Yes.
Is that on the corner with an alley?
Yes. And on the alley behind the former Madison Apothecary.
questions?
No.
I'm good.
You good? Thank you, sir. One nineteen East Street. Anybody here to represent 119 East Street?
I would move
With your
into the-
permission, we'll put it on the bottom and maybe they'll come in by the end.
Make sure you adjust your star sheets also.
Okay, 601 West Street.
Hi, good evening. I'm Kelly Juddy, Executive Director for the Children's Advocacy Center of Southeastern Indiana. We're currently on Second Street, but in October of 2022, we acquired the 601 West Street property, applied for Okra grant, and also established a relationship with BLF, who provided our matching funds for the Okra grant. We were awarded that in the spring, and we're applying for this grant for external purposes such as brick repair and tuck pointing. I think the porch needs assistance, but the Okra money can be spent only on interior. So therefore, we have those needs. Bricks are currently crumbling on the north side. And we would also love to paint and brighten it up a little bit for the children, so. And our architect that's Okra approved, Donnie Ball, is with me, that can give you more specific and accurate information about exactly what needs to occur on the exterior. Donnie, go ahead.
The building's sat vacant for several years, like a lot of those hospital-owned buildings. And so we are in need of paint, restoration, and windows replacement. Tuck pointing. We got some brick that actually fell above a window on the north side, just due to water getting in behind the brick like everything else and falling out. So we're trying to get it back up in shape and get it ready for another 100 years. And the way that we went about laying out our plans was that, you know, when CAC is done with it, that it could easily be converted back to a double residence or a single residence. So we want to, if that time ever comes that we vacate the building, then it still will be useful and maintained and ready to go for a long time.
Now, was this property at some point deemed unsafe by the building inspector?
It was, I think it was called deteriorated or dilapidated.
It is eligible for dilapidated structures.
Yeah.
Let me check to see if I have an unsafe designation.
Yeah. It makes a difference in our scoring.
Mhm.
And of course, this was be a business application here. Any guesses how long that's been vacant?
How old the building is?
How long it's been vacant?
Oh,
There's some KDH administrative offices. I'm not from here, but when KDH did whatever they did, I believe that's when those administrative offices became vacant. And I'm not sure of the year of that.
probably 3 or 4 years at least.
At least.
Since I've been here, and I've been here for 7 years.
Okay, so
We've had others.
Okay.
And the answer answer the unsafe, has not been declared unsafe, but it is still eligible for dilapidated.
Okay. All right. Now, I don't remember, is there an alley goes down beside that building?
Yes.
It's just immediately to the south of the doctor's office building.
Right. Okay. And regardless of the results of this evening's meeting, I'm really glad to see those buildings being brought back to life. Have any other questions?
No.
Okay. Thank you very much. .506 West Main.
Hi, I'm Josh Wilbur, live at 506 West Main. If it makes any difference, it's unsafe to enter my house if you know my wife, so.
No.
Just kidding. So, my project, it was to replace my roof. 5 years we've dealt with battling insurance and unfortunately didn't win that completely. To replace the roof due to the hail damage that happened back in 2018. So at the same time, we've also decided that because it's been well over 12 years since we've been there, and the house has been painted on the exterior, there's a lot of pilling of it. There was a lot of stucco that was falling off. All of our chimneys were cracked and so forth, so we had all the chimneys repaired, the flashing all redone because doing the roof, might as well redo that. The metal, if you know our flower boxes in our house on the roof, so all the metal had to be redone. So we had to take up the metal that was there and redo all the metal for the boxes. And so it was, it's been quite a project, obviously still ongoing, so.
And Josh,
Yes,
now you've already begun all of this work, is that correct?
we did. There was a little miscommunication when we were gonna be in for PACE grant. I thought we were gonna be in this meeting in May. We had got COA approval in April, I believe is when so we were gonna wait until May, and then I realized that we're not gonna be in this meeting. We're gonna have to wait till July. But with the rain and everything that we knew was gonna come, the inside of our house, we already have so much damage in our ceilings that had been coming down. I couldn't take another monsoon before I got back in here to start the work, and the contractor was ready, so. So the roof is done, yes. The other stuff is not all done. The chimneys are done, so but the painting is not.
So what remains to be done then?
At this point, the painting would be what is remaining to be done. We wanted to, well, they gotta paint the chimneys too, obviously go back up and paint those, but, while they were up there, it made sense to get it all done, while all the scaffolding and everything was built to do it.
Yeah, so my two quick comments are, you did the right thing by getting the house taken care of and getting it stabilized. But you're not supposed to start the projects until things are approved. Which,
But we didn't start until we got a COA, of course. as
well,
you know,
yeah,
right?
but you
Right.
didn't have PACE approval.
Right, and like I said, that was a
yeah.
miscommunication.
And that kind of creates a pickle here. Because we do not normally, well, we don't. We don't fund in arrears. And frankly, that would open a situation I don't think we want to get into. because you can't do for one without doing for everybody. I'm sure you understand that.
I guess I can only say I'm a little disappointed in the miscommunication that occurred, but, there was nothing I could do.
Yeah, I understand.
Or I would have been in here before the project actually began.
Yeah, well, we'd be having an entirely different conversation prior to the work being done.
We would.
And I don't see where you've separated out the pricing of paint versus all the other work.
It is.
Is it?
It's on the second.
9,000, yeah, I submitted that. I just, got that a few days ago.
She sent us an email with the.
Yeah,
It was
for-
an email.
Is it an email?
Yeah.
What was,
$9,350.
Yep.
and that project has not begun yet, correct? $9,000 what?
$350.
I missed that email, so. So I think that's the only portion of the project we would be able to consider. And if I'm doing my math correctly, the dollar figure on that would be $4,675 would be 50% 50% match on that. Is it appropriate for us to consider a amendment to the application to cover the paint only?
The applicant has.
I mean, it doesn't matter if you amend it or not. I mean, the paint's in the original request, and you're not gonna consider the other factors, right?
Well, I don't believe we can consider the other
Yeah,
factors.
Which, again, I protest it, I do, because I know what's occurred through this, but, I understand your stance too.
So if you want us to proceed and consider the paint portion of the project only, we can do that.
Well, the paint is already in my application as a part of it, right? So if you only consider the paint as all that can be done, then I guess there's nothing I can do about it.
Okay, all right. Do I have a motion to consider the paint portion of the project? Or other comments?
I didn't know we did paint unless it had to do with, like, Jim stripped it all off. That was different. It was a tuck pointing kind of thing. Thinking of the purple building. Is that not right, Nicole? When we approved, when we approved the paint before on Jim Pruitt's building, that was not the paint, it was to get the paint off for the tucking and, okay. So I mean, like, we haven't approved other people's paint so far.
Well, I did, but it's all being,
It kinda negates
Got
it,
done in May.
right, like, am I hearing that wrong?
No, I think you're hearing
If
that
we've started
correctly.
it, and then we're trying to, okay,
Yeah.
I don't wanna get confused.
We only consider the paint when it's part of the project. Say we're tuck pointing, fixing brick,
and then the paint goes back over top of the structure. I believe that's correct. Yeah,
Which that's
so
what I've
that's-
done. I did the stucco work. I repaired the stucco around the house.
But
There was even a hole in the one side of the house. I had an air conditioning unit that we, completely filled in and had to, obviously stucco that. But there was a lot of stucco that was cracked and upright.
Again,
So
though, it just
you do it
goes-
and then you have to repaint
It
those
goes back
areas.
to the application, under our guidelines, it has to be submitted prior to the work. Once you submit it, we approve, we make the recommendation, we don't even actually approve it, we make the recommendation. So I think the question is the paint considered? It's
thought
not
no.
considered because the work's been started. And I think sadly, that's the way it is.
All right.
I'm afraid that,
much I can do.
I'm afraid that, we're not gonna be able to make any recommendation on this application then.
All right.
Thank you.
Is that all right?
Okay, 117 West Fountain Alley.
Hello, my name is Anna Little, and I'm one of the owners of 117 West Fountain Alley. It's the yellow building behind Red Rooster, like off of the parking lot with Girls Inc. And we put in an application to have tuck pointing and, well, the old paint removed, tuck pointing, and then have the building repainted. Currently, no one is living there, but my mother-in-law is moving to town, and so it's going to be a residence, and we're hoping, we've been doing the inside of the house to make it nice for her, and we'd like for the outside to be nice as well. So we are hoping to do that. Right now, it has damage on the front from rain, and just, it's looking really sad. The paint's peeling off on multiple sides of the building, and the bricks are obviously not in good shape, which is why we need the tuck pointing done.
And the distinction between this project and the previous one in terms of the paint is you've got to remove the paint in order to do the tuck pointing.
Yes.
When did you all obtain that building?
I think that we bought it almost 2 years ago.
Okay.
But we've been focusing all of our energy on the inside so that it's stayable for family. And now we've got that mostly done, almost done, 90%. And want the outside to be nice too.
Okay. Any other questions?
No.
Right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, 316 West Main.
west wall. I need a severe tuck pointing. The building is 40 foot high, and from the peak all the way across. And the way I understand it, it's double layer of brick, like the way all the buildings are. And a lot of the mortar is totally gone, and around the upper window, which I got a 2-story apartment up there. And that window's, I can't support an air conditioner anymore. But down the other side of the wall, I mean, the mortar's gone pretty much. And the thing is, my neighbor, which is the soap shop, they got a walkway through there. They really made it look nice, but they wanna do a walkway, you know, just to show people, but they brought me a couple of bricks that fell out, so that's a dangerous situation. And I understand it. And that's pretty much the reason why I am here.
And this is currently rental units or your office or?
No, man, sir, my business is there too, Dusty Service Center.
Okay.
But he's also gonna do the chimney, what's not in there, because where my chimney is and where the, what's that, the roots?
Rusted root, or
Yeah.
roots, the barber
Rusty
shop.
roots, okay.
Yeah, whatever, it's not,
Well,
yeah.
Kim's,
yeah.
Kim's,
we know.
chimney's there, and mine's right here, which the people that's might bid said they will do that, they just put it in there, because Kim's gonna have hers done, but both of our things is gonna do this, one of them, sooner or later, they're gonna go on one of our, wall buildings or roofs. So she's fixing to have a new roof put on, the way I understand Kim, she's gonna have a new roof put on pretty soon.
Okay. And as I said before, regardless of the results of this meeting, sounds like an absolutely necessary project,
Yes, sir.
so. Okay. Any other questions?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, 1003 East Street.
Brian Marshall, 1003 East Street. It's a house that burned badly about 2 months ago. It needed quite a bit of work before it burned, and now it needs about the back 1/3 of the house torn off and just really start over.
I will make one comment on this application. In your packets, it wasn't included, but he has closed on the property and provided the required deed and insurance, so he is eligible for funding.
Okay.
Brian, was the part that burnt, was that an add-on like a lot of these?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, it was in pretty rough shape. Landon did declare it unsafe.
What are you going to use it for?
It's gonna be, we're gonna live there.
Okay. You.
Was that property occupied when it burned?
Yes.
Okay. But hasn't been since then?
No.
Does the alley run behind that?
I'm not sure it's an alley, but it's a city right away.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you can access it?
I don't know, it's up about
Okay.
12 foot. I'm not sure I would
Oh.
put the money in to access it.
But you could see the back of the property.
Yeah, yeah. We just want to use this mainly to get that back part that's damaged so badly cut off and get it secured. The police have been over there multiple times the past month. People 2, 3 o'clock in the morning rooting through the house, and it's just hard to stop as it is with the no doors and a lot of the windows blown out. Insurance is terribly expensive when the house is open like that too, I found out.
And you said it has been declared as an unsafe structure?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions?
No.
Okay. Thank you very much, Brian. (1902) Strader Street.
So just to be clear, the first application was on behalf of the business, Kentucky Animal Mortgage Group, and then this is for me personally. This is 1902 Strader Street, which is an unsafe and dilapidated structure up on the hilltop. Basically, quite the eyesore up there. And then the interior of the home, the floors are caving in, so there's foundation work that needs to be done. There's some wall issues from water damage. Pretty much all the windows need to be replaced on it, and then the siding is also bad. I think it looks a little bit worse than when I bought it because one of the shutters fell off, or is halfway off, so. This grant would be used to get it back to the way it looked. It's a really nice looking home, and the idea is not to change the exterior in any way, shape, or form. Just to kind of keep it as is and get it back to not being an unsafe structure.
So it's been deemed that way, that like the building inspectors, okay.
Keith, how long has it been since somebody lived in there?
I'll be honest with you and say I don't know.
Okay.
But I'm sure, I would hope a while. The floors are very, caving in.
And you're going to use it as a rental property
Yes,
eventually?
ma'am.
Okay.
Did you say that it has been deemed unsafe by the building inspector? Okay. Any guesses how long it's been since somebody lived there?
I did not ask the seller at closing.
How long have you all owned it?
When did we buy that thing?
Ballpark.
I want to say 3 months ago. She told me I should tear it down, so I'm guessing that nobody lived in there for a while, so.
Any other questions? Thank you very much. Okay. 510 West Main.
Good evening, and thank you for giving me this opportunity. My name's Shirley Smalley, and I own the Crawford Ross Whitehead house that's just next to the Christian church on Main Street. And my husband and I bought it back in '06, and we have put a fortune in that house, but I really love it, and I've always loved history. And it's been many years now, probably '08 since it was painted, and it's also on the National Historic Register. I think I'm one of the only houses that is specifically on the register. The foundation, especially along the alley in the front, it's got the big old limestone, and it's getting pits way back in it, several inches in it, that needs to be repaired. And then there's some rotten wood and peeling paint, and the paint needs to be redone, and we're only going to do what's painted now, and, because the main house is brick, so we're gonna do the trim. And I was told it wouldn't cover it, but I have problems with the alley wall, on the inside. The outside, from what I see, looks okay, but the inside wall is getting cracks and bubbles and stuff like that, and it seems like every time one of those semis go by the house, they hit a certain spot and it just vibrates. And if there's any way we can repair the inside of that wall, I would like to do that also. I wanna maintain it so it's beautiful for many years to come. And now I'm a widow, so my income
I understand.
used to be, it's my home. I do also use it as a bed and breakfast.
And she was correct in what she told you about the interior wall. Interior wall work is not something that falls within what we fund. So we would have to remove that piece from the application. That's a small piece, given the application that you've got here. Actually, that's not gonna make any difference at all to what we fund, because your request was actually more than what the grant would offer. The grant maximum is $7,500. And so if we remove that interior wall from the 8,400 that you had requested, we're still not down to the 75. So, the nature of the application, the 7,500 is all that would be, applicable anyhow. So it really won't make any difference to the application.
So I did not realize that, so I'm a little confused now. So how much could it cover?
Well, the application that you've made is for a rehabilitation grant. And because your property is inhabitable, that's the maximum grant that you're eligible to request. And so the maximum dollar figure, the portion that would come from the grant is $7,500. So, actually,
You're in good shape. You've got
you're-
plenty of work. Your scope of work is far beyond
Yeah.
what we require.
yes. So that part's fine.
And I brought Charles with me to have technical questions.
I understand.
Never do it, because I'm not so good at that, but I can sure see what needs to be done,
Yeah.
and I really care about the house.
Is that house on an alley as well?
Yes.
It is, okay.
Me and the Christian church. And I think, I got some old pictures from way back, and I think there was more space there between the alley and the house. There were shrubs. And now the alley goes right up to the house, to the foundation.
She does have some major foundation problems. The water's just eating everything up over there, and it's gonna cause a lot more.
Any other questions?
No.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
127 St. Michael's Avenue.
Hi, my name's Becky Burris, and I live at 127 St. Michael's, across from the new Fairfield Hotel. My issue is, my property sits on a hill as it comes up the river, and then there's retaining wall on both sides, and then I have steps that go down the front. And the north retaining wall, it's been moving a little bit over the years, but within the last probably year and a half, it's probably moved another 4 inches. It's separated from where the steps are poured in and join the walls, so it's all kind of crumbling at the same time. The south wall isn't leaning as bad, but it's already separated and it's getting cracks in the middle. So what I need to do is just get it torn out and put it back like it was. I'm not doing any variations of fancy steps or anything like that. I just wanna get it back to the way it was. And I've been there almost 40 years, and that wall's been there that long, so I don't know when it was originally put in, but it's definitely had its wear and tear. And it's a point now on the north wall, it's leaning, I never know some mornings when I get up and we've had a big rain if it's gonna end up on the city sidewalk, cause it's leaning pretty good, so. And I know when you look, I had the difference in the estimates, because there was one that was pretty extreme. He, was acquaintance from work, and he was in concrete work, so I had him come, but he was obviously not interested in doing the job, so I think he kind of priced it that way. And then there was one in between, so the one I actually submitted for that I wanted to use was the lower one, and he really wants to do the job, so it's more reasonable also.
Just real quick, I'm familiar with it, but the wall is going north-south, okay? And that's what's leaning from the west to the east. And she's talking about the steps on the north and south side are the steps. So it's just pulling apart that way, so. That's where the cracks are coming from, where the walls are.
You said that's your residence.
Yes.
And you're using the Yarling quote, right?
I'm sorry?
You had 2 quotes. You're going with
So I had
Yarling.
3. I had, the really huge one. I don't know if you saw that one. The Myers.
It's not Yarling.
That's not the Yarn.
No, yeah.
It's the Wilson one I'm going with.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. And then the neighbor to the north of me, she has a section that is not gonna be good once they tear that section out for me. So, so we just separated her part that he gave us, hers would be off of the total for mine, cause she's just gonna do that much, so.
Any other questions?
No.
Thank you very much. Okay, 117 Ferry Street.
Hi, I'm Debbie Russell, and we recently purchased this property at 117 Cherry Street in April of this year. So we're kind of starting from ground zero. It's got a lot of electrical work that needs to be redone, and also water damage. It had several leaks when we walked into the building. We'd like to restore the building. On the outside of the building where the water leaks were, the wood is rotten, so that needs to be replaced. A couple of windows need to be replaced, and we'd like to paint. As well as, they put in a new drainage system going from the top of the hill. We'd like to clean that ditch area up so that we have proper drainage going down to the river, because we have a lot of erosion on the back side of the building. The kitchen has a lot of three-phase electrical coming up through the floor. The majority of the floor is rotten and needs to be taken out and replaced. All the electrical needs to be, the three phases is shut down. Everything to the kitchen is shut down right now.
It's not deemed unsafe though, right? You can
No,
live there.
just dilapidated.
Okay. And you're going to continue living there? Like there'll be your
The
rest?
upstairs is going to be a summer home, a vacation home for our family, and we will have venues in the lower level once we get everything to that state. We'd like to bring the integrity back to the building.
So I know it feels like I'm picking at the various applications that we've got. But I'm looking actually at this year's guidelines. And landscaping is one of the things that is specifically listed as being ineligible.
Okay,
So there are some pieces in here that we'll need to remove
okay.
from the
sure,
application.
sure. So I think the landscaping, the landscaping's already been done, it wouldn't be eligible anyway. So what's in there is the removal of trees that, we've got one on the back of the property that's right at they've got like a concrete drainage line. So there's a cluster of trees right there that are blocking that drain line. And it's right in front of the new drain that they just put in coming up the hill. So it's really pretty, but there's still a lot of trees and debris from that point on down that needs to be cleaned up. And that's not, I don't consider that landscaping, because it's not gonna beautify anything, it's just gonna clean it up.
Well, I think for our purposes here, we would still
Okay.
have to consider that landscape.
Okay.
Rewiring is eligible,
Mm-hmm.
so we're good on the rewiring. The, I don't see fireplaces listed one way or the other in our guidelines.
No.
But I would consider that an interior structure or interior component. Well,
Yeah, so if it's not specifically listed, it's up to the PACE committee on whether they want to fund it or not.
okay,
Keeping in mind that they're removing gas lines with that.
mm-hmm,
So it depends on whether you want to consider that like you do HVAC where it's not eligible, or like the rewiring, which is eligible.
yeah.
So ultimately, it's up to the four of you.
Well, I would consider removing the gas lines as necessary for the safety of the building. So, with removing the landscape, and if you all feel differently on this, tell me so, but removing the landscaping items,
Would number 7 be?
I'm considering that one of the landscaping items, 6 and 7.
I've already done that math. If you remove 6 and 7 from her $73,000 budget, it brings it down to 63. So her max grant would still be 25.
So it doesn't make any difference on the max grant, okay. That's where I was trying to get. Okay. Was it been about 3 years since that property was used?
I think it closed in 21 from COVID.
21? Any other questions?
No.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Okay, 407 West Second Street.
Hi, I'm Susan Ollendorf. I live at 416 West Second Street. And 407 is a house that we are redoing to move into down the road upon completion. We have removed the exterior cement board that was on there, put on probably in the mid-40s. The house then exposed the clapboard that was the original shotgun portion before additions were added to it. We've maintained enough of that that we can put that back on the front of the home. But then we have to have exterior siding, the hardy board, cement board on the east and west, and as well the south. The east and west, though, are visible. The Historic District Board of Review approved the replacement of our windows, so we are replacing those. The bay window that was on the front was not original to the home. It was put on. Originally, there was a door in the center, but when they added the two sides, that changed. But we will be putting the original siding back on the front of the home, and that window will be replaced as well as the other windows. We've taken a lot of rotten, termite-infested wood around the lower portions of the home, and those have all been replaced. The inside has been completely gutted as well. We bought the home in June of 21, and the previous owner had not been in the home for at least 3 years. She was at a nursing home.
So Susan, basically what you all have done to this point is just demo work.
Yes, there have been roughing in of the interior structure, but not exterior.
In terms of the exterior.
Right.
And did I hear you right, that you're going to be taking that bay window out and replacing it with?
Well, the bay window is already gone, and the work is there for the window, but the windows have not been put in.
Okay.
They've not been,
But it's not going to be returned
purchased.
to a door?
it is not.
There's a picture, I think the picture you submitted is what it will.
Kind of an inspiration picture, yes. Because the original door, which would have been on the original structure, was moved in the addition in the 40s, it would be very difficult to put it back in the center again.
Questions? Questions? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, 108 East Third Street.
Hello, I'm Bill Barnes, and my wife and I live at 108 East Third Street. We moved in 2017 regatta weekend, which wasn't too smart at the time. And so our house was built in 1837, and in our application are the two outbuildings that are in a very conspicuous location where two alleys come together, and there's a very large parking area. We have made progress on the interior and exterior of our house, and it's now time to deal with this eyesore of a couple buildings. The scope of the project, let me say, the age of the building I did put in the application the Sanborn insurance maps, and you can see clearly that those structures do appear, and when you look at the age of the brick, I think it's pretty evident that it's, mid-19th century. Exactly when, I don't know. So the scope of the project is essentially, there's a lot of rotten wood on the buildings. The fascia boards are all shot, basically. We have a garage door that is one swift kick away from having a window. And then there are, at the bottom of some of the doors, there is water damage. So in addition to replacing all the openings in the buildings, we would like to install a concrete threshold, just a few inches, just so we don't come back to this situation again with the damage to the wood. And then beyond this, near term, we want to do some work on lighting and perhaps new electric to the donkey barn, which is a smaller building, but that's not included in this application. It's merely a comment on us wanting to continue to improve those buildings. The wild card, I think, in this is that 8-foot wall. We know it's going to be a challenge to try to disassemble, if you will, the top part of it. And so what we don't know is when that happens, will parts of it crumble? But it is our desire to have the 8 feet that it is, today, and run the length of it. But it is, as you can see, it is merely or only being held up by the Duke Energy pole, basically, which is a kind of an unsafe situation should that, decide to go.
Okay. Any questions?
No.
Thank you very much.
Wow, okay, thank you.
Stick them together?
Yeah. Thank you.
517 Mulberry.
I'm Nick Beckley. So my wife and I own this house, which we bought in 2007. Excuse me. There's a bunch of tuck pointing and some bricks that need to be replaced. If you look at the pictures, it's not as noticeable in the front of the house, but near the windows on the second floor, there's some areas where water's gotten in. We had some problems with the box gutter. And there's some cracking on the inside. I didn't include a photo of that. The more serious problems are probably on the side of the house where Dennis Webster, the contractor, is here. He can tell you in more detail, maybe technically. There's water that's maybe even seeping up into the foundation because there's brick along the bottom of the house that's getting damaged, and the foundation needs to be sealed. And then there's also a drain where the sidewalk is cracked significantly. So I think that there is water getting in under the sidewalk, and it may be also be getting in under the back wall of the house because there's been some settling there. There's cracking where they bricked up an old window, and there's cracking near one of the back windows. There's also cracking on the inside, so I think it's affecting the entire wall. So there's structural problems as well as brickwork that needs to be done. There's also some work that can be done in the front of the house. Dennis Webster suggested working on the front door and the transom there as well as the brickwork on the front of the house. It's a whole laundry list of things that
Welcome
needs
to
to be done.
downtown.
But I'm most worried about that back wall, because I think that I need to make sure there's no more water damage.
And you're going to continue living there?
Yeah.
It's your residence?
Yeah.
There's an alley on the back side of you?
There's a sidewalk along the side of the house between us and the next house over, and it's pretty narrow. And they've had some problems with drainage too. And the whole sidewalk is probably leaking water under the wall of the house. So it needs to be sealed up as well as sealed up along the foundation. So it's not really an alleyway, it's a pretty narrow space, and I think the drainage is a problem even if that back drain under the sidewalk is still working, which I'm not sure. Some of this is invisible, so and hypothetical. I'm not sure, exactly what's going on, but it's that back wall of the house that's settling in the way that sidewalk over the drain that's cracked that really worries me.
Okay. Any other questions?
No.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, 809. You ready?
I'm waiting on these questions. Usually the first one. That's all good.
809 East Second Street.
I was taking that. Thanks.
Hello. He's my assistant. I'm Margaret, otherwise known as Peggy Fleurbaum. I live at 809 East Second. This is Dennis Webster, he's the contractor. Needing some major tuck pointing down on the foundation. He's gonna explain it actually.
Her foundation, once you look at it from the inside, and it has a very narrow access. It's about 2 foot, and you kind of got to crawl up to crawl into it. But there's been stone repair, and instead of repairing the original 18 to 24 inches of stone, they've kind of laid a facade on the outer edges of it that's basically only 6 to 8 inches wide. And then there's multiple sections along the sides of the foundation where they've filled it in, but they didn't tooth it in, so to speak. The stone actually isn't laid into the rest of the wall, it's just blocks laid. And beyond that, the floor joists, she originally had me come over to look at a slope in her floor, but once I crawled underneath it, you could see where over the years, just every couple decades, they had added wedges to the joists to lift them up. And the stone underneath them is starting to crumble, those wedges are starting to disintegrate, and there's multiple joists that are split up and have cracks through them where they've put just little 1 foot, 2 foot sisters over top of the cracks. And, well, over time, those 1 foot, 2 foots don't really make a difference, and the rest of the joists are starting to slope out. And the inner walls also need repointed. Pretty much all the mortar's washed out. And if it wasn't for the fact that the stone's well stacked, it's loose enough it could fall itself.
And this is your residence, is it not? Is that on an alley?
It backs up to an alley.
Backs up to an alley?
Hence Lane.
Oh, yeah, it's the back of I should know that.
Thank you very much. Okay, 824 West Third.
Hi, how you doing? Name's Aaron Scott, and wife, me, and my kids, we live at 824 West Third Street. Basically, scope of work is there's some columns on our front porch that are rotting out, need replaced. House needs painted. Carriage house, there's some repair work needs to be done to the carriage house. Carriage house painted. What else we got? That's pretty much a lot of the major stuff there. Oh, probably tuck point to the chimney too. That's losing some bricks up on that. Yeah.
This is your residence, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Was there an alley? I don't remember.
No.
No. I don't think.
How long have you all owned that property?
Oh, since like 2017.
Other questions?
No.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
The last one,
That brings us back to 119,
right,
yes,
19.
119 East Street. Is that right?
East Street.
And it doesn't appear to be anybody here to represent that property. So with that, she'll give us our scores here momentarily. And then we'll figure out what we can and cannot fund.
down in order of application submission, 209 West Main Street. I will start off, all of these are a minimum score at 36, so I'm not gonna repeat that. But 209 West Main Street scored 33.25. 113 West 3rd Street scored 32.75. 944 West 2nd Street scored 32.5. I'm going to skip 119. 601 West Street scored 40. I'm going to skip 506 West Main. 117 West Fountain Alley scored 31.5. 316 West Main scored 35.75. 1003 East Street scored 40.75. 1902 Strader Street scored 38.25. 510 West Main Street scored 40.5. 127 St. Michael's Avenue scored 27.75. 117 Ferry Street scored 29.25. 407 West 2nd Street scored 45. 108 East 3rd Street scored 37.25. 517 Mulberry Street scored 35. 809 East 2nd Street scored 42.25. And 824 West 3rd Street scored 36.75. So if you sort those by funding score as approved by the PACE committee at the last meeting, the following applications would receive funding until funds run out. 407 West 2nd Street, 809 East 2nd Street, 1003 East Street, 510 West Main Street, 601 West Street, and 1902 Strader Street.
So is that 6 total? Do I have all those?
I wrote down 6 too, but I thought it was 8.
Well, fund-wise, according to the way the scoring said.
Wait for her to add it up.
I added it up, but I'm not sure I did it right, so I'm gonna wait on her numbers. So where does that leave us with funding?
That leaves you, we're short, $750, which would, likely have to come off of the final application, which is 1902 Strader Street.
Okay. All right. So again, the addresses that we're able to fund this time around, if you would repeat those, please?
Yep. So, based on scoring, it's 407 West Second Street, 809 East Second Street, 1003 East Street, 510 West Main Street, 106 West Street, and 1902 Strader Street. I will add this caveat, however, if that final applicant chooses not to accept a lesser amount than what he applied for, that funding could potentially go to the other two of 108 East 3rd Street and 824 West 3rd Street. The owner of 1902 Strader Street would have to agree to lower his ask.
Okay. So, okay. All right, so, and this is not to denigrate any of the applicants that were out there, because all of these projects are worthy. There was just a limited amount of money, and we knew it would be a limited amount of money this month, which is why last meeting, we determined how we would, use the money by score, so that there wouldn't be any question from anyone as to why they did or didn't get funded. So with that, I would look for a motion to fund those particular properties
I'll make a motion.
with the caveat of the one property that we don't have quite enough money to fund in its entirety,
The straighter one.
the Strader property.
Do we need to ask him first if he's okay?
I would, and probably, my recommendation would be to include in the motion, to approve all the applications based on, minimum scoring, ranked in that order until funds run out, with the caveat that, the final, 1902 Strader Street agrees to a lesser amount, or his funding goes to the next available applicant.
Sounds good, Nicole, let's do it.
Are you making that motion?
I'll make that motion exactly as she said it.
Do we have a second?
I'll make the second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Certainly. Come up to the microphone so we can hear you.
I think I scored 35 out of 36, so I was close to the minimum, but is it expected that you can reapply, or is this the final decision? I mean, is the number gonna change when there's more funds available, or?
Well, certainly you can reapply. But unless something changes out in the real world, there will not be additional funding until the first of the year.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know.
Now, in terms of how your property scores, the board changes from time to time, and the way the scoring is done, there's a matrix that we use, and there's point values, and frankly, it's a judgment call on the part of every one of us And so what they do is what she does is she averages those scores.
Right.
So you could very well come up with a different score in reapplying.
Is the
But-
minimum related to the fact that there's not enough funding now? Or is it
No,
just- that's
the minimum was established back in January
Okay, that's
when
what I
we
didn't
established the
understand that.
rules
Yeah.
for 2023.
Okay,
The first of every year, we look at the rules and we make adjustments based on the experiences from last year, because some things work well and some things need to be polished up. And so we do our best to try and give you as consistent a judging and as consistent of a program as possible. And so every year we look at what happened last year and make adjustments. So that's the minimum score was established back in January
okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
and has been such all year.
Okay,
So
thank
if
you.
you don't do any work, I mean, I would recommend you can reconsider
Well, the
reapplying
work
at
is
the
already
first of the year.
It's already scheduled for August and
Yeah.
September, so,
Yeah, well,
Okay.
Yes.
thank
maybe
you.
future projects.
Thank you. So if we scored above 36, and that's the guidelines you set, that there had to be a minimum of 36, so the score for our property was higher than that, does that mean that we then are in line when funding's available in next year, or do we have to go through all this again?
You'll need to reapply next year. We start with a clean slate every year. Because the rules do change at the beginning of the year. And don't misunderstand me, we'd love to fund everybody who scored the qualifying score,
I understand.
but
Yeah,
there's just so
I get it.
many dollars.
Yeah, well, I guess we'll be back in January then. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Certainly.
Could we start the project and run out of money? Like,
Um,
is there that risk?
I'm sorry?
If you're approved,
Yeah, your
could we get
application
into
was,
it and
your
then could we-
application was funded, so you do not have to worry about those funds running out, no.
That's right.
Yep.
Thank you.
And we still
She
need
has
to
a
vote
question
on
too,
the motion to approve.
Oh, I thought we did.
We have not.
All in
Yeah,
favor of the
Kara
motion?
seconded it. Kara seconded
All in
it.
favor of the
Yeah.
motion?
Aye.
Aye.
That lady had a question too, Jim. She has a-
Any other questions out there?
That lady has a question.
Yes, it still has to go to the Board of Works for final approval.
So the Board of Works is, Monday, nobody needs to attend that meeting, however, it is a public meeting, so it's at 11:30 on this coming Monday. I will take all the applications that were, recommended for funding and take those to the Board of Works, at 11:30, yeah. Yes, so once the Board of Works, approves your application, I will reach out to all those, applicants that are funded. I have yet to see the Board of Works turn over a recommendation from PACE. They typically agree with, this board's recommendations. So I will reach out, there will be a grant agreement that you will need to sign, that stipulates all the different requirements of the grant.
Anything else?
Yeah, I got one question. The 119 Strader Street, that's reduced, amount of money was there, and I didn't hear the cash how much that was.
Yes, we are short, just about $800. It's a little less than that. So I will be asking that applicant if they are agreeable to reduce their request.
That request was, for 75.
No, that is a dilapidated structures grant, so it's, above 20,000.
If nothing else, then I would look for a motion to adjourn.
Before you do, I will just note, that the next meeting is to be determined. While we are currently out of funds, the city's administration is actively looking for ways to add funding for another round. So if applicants weren't awarded, and I will also send this in an email to those who have already left, there is a potential for another round this year. I won't know that until those funds become available. But the first round is in January, and that deadline is in December. So we are still gonna take an application before the end of the year for first of next year. So think about that when you're planning your projects, that we will have funding definitely for the January meeting.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll move the motion, we adjourn.
One of them seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all for coming.